I'd hear a little noise and I'd let go.
In 1946, military police walked into the Museum of Modern Art in New York and seized a film hours before the curtain. They weren't hunting spies. The film belonged to the United States Army. The Army had ordered it, paid for it, shot it, and now the Army wanted it to disappear. The men in it are not actors. They are American soldiers, home from the Pacific and from Europe, filmed by their own army. This is what the country was not allowed to see.
I got killed nearly got killed.
It stayed sealed for 35 years, 75 men, one hospital on Long Island, cameras rolling on things no newsreel ever showed. This is the film The Army Buried, and the reason it was buried is stranger than the film itself. Spring, 1945. Mason General Hospital, Long Island, the Army's biggest psychiatric hospital on the East Coast. Week after week, hospital ships and trains unload new drafts of patients. They walk in carrying duffel bags. No visible wounds. The film's own opening card states the number the Army preferred not to advertise. About 20% of all battle casualties in the American Army were neuropsychiatric. Not shrapnel. Mines. The admission interviews are where the cameras start. A doctor behind a desk, a soldier in a chair, and questions nobody had filmed answers to before.
I think I'm in the States now. They told me I'd come back, but they told me I was going to die.
The words come out wrong. Sentences collapse halfway. One man shakes so hard he cannot hold a cigarette. Another cannot remember the name of the place that broke him. A third can remember everything, and that is exactly his problem. Watch his hand.
I should have been first scout. I'm first scout, and I should have been out in front. And he went out, and I started to go out after him. He got...
His hand said the rest. This is what the phrase combat fatigue was invented to flatten. The men themselves had blunter names for it, and the Army had a form for it. The discharge that said, in effect, this man is used up. One patient apologizes for crying on camera. The doctor's answer is 4 words long.
A display of emotion is all right.
I'm not doing this deliberately, so please believe me.
I do believe.
No script supervisor wrote that. That is why this footage exists, and why it became dangerous. The man behind the cameras is Major John Huston. Hollywood knows him as the director of the Maltese Falcon. The Army knows him as a problem. This is his 3rd war film for the Signal Corps, and each one has been harder for the Army to swallow than the last. 1943. Report from the Aleutians. Brave, patriotic, approved. 1945. The Battle of San Pietro. Real combat in an Italian valley. Real bodies in mattress covers. The brass called it anti-war. Huston reportedly answered that if he ever made a film that was pro-war, they should take him out and shoot him. General Marshall let San Pietro survive as a training film. The Army even filmed its own justification. A commanding general, on camera, on the record.
We took it, and the cost in relation to the later advance was not excessive.
The infantry that took San Pietro counted the cost differently. So in 1945, the Army hands its most honest director one more assignment. Go to Mason General. Film the psychiatric casualties. Show the public that these men are not lunatics and not cowards, that they can be treated and sent home whole. The working idea is almost optimistic. Reassure employers that a nervous veteran is still a good hire. Huston brings 6 cameramen, 6 electricians, 2 soundmen. Sound on film, multiple cameras, nothing staged. The admission interviews are shot as they happen, first take, because there is no second take of a man breaking down. The crew exposes 375,000 feet of film on 75 patients. He will later call it the most hopeful thing he ever had a hand in. The film's centerpiece is a small room, a doctor, a needle, and a soldier who cannot walk. The treatments of 1945 are not talk therapy. They are chemical shortcuts. An injection, the film's doctors call it narcosynthesis, drops the patient into a half-sleep where the memory can be reached. Hypnosis does the same job without the needle. The doctor counts, the eyes close, and then the doctor does something no film had ever recorded.
You can remember everything. You're back on Okinawa. Tell me what you said.
And the man goes, he is not remembering it, he is there.
Tell me. Speak. I'm in the battery area. You're in the battery area.
The camera does not cut away. There is no music telling you what to feel. In 1945, nobody had ever put this on film, and arguably nobody has since, because this cannot be reshot or performed. It is one man's worst night, surfacing in a hospital room in daylight. Then there is the stutterer. 8 months of a voice that will not come. The doctors trace it back, not to one shell, but to a whole childhood the war reopened. And in a session near the end of his treatment, the voice comes back. Listen to what he does with it.
Difference in your feeling?
Boy, in hell, it's just like seventh heaven.
What is it?
His words, not the army's. Moments like this made the film irresistible. They would also be held against it. The group sessions are quieter. No needles, no trances. Just rows of men discovering that the thing each one thought was private shame is, in fact, the man in the next chair.
I don't know. It surprised me. You feel that your family has to be taught how to treat you when you come back?
February 1946. Huston hand carries the finished film to Washington. It is called Let There Be Light, words lifted from the book of Genesis. The screening rooms go quiet, and the United States Army looks at the most humane film it has ever produced and locks it up. The official reason? Privacy. The men on camera, the Army says, must be protected, and the release forms they signed have been lost, conveniently lost. The Army never obtains new ones. There is no record it ever asked the men again. Huston never believed the privacy story. In his memoir, he wrote that the Army wanted its returning men seen one way, proud, whole, unbroken. His film showed the other way home. It said every man has his breaking point. To an institution built on the idea that willpower wins wars, that sentence read as sabotage. Whatever the motive, the enforcement was physical. When the Museum of Modern Art schedules a screening, military police seize the print. The critic James Argy, who has seen it, calls it in print a fine, terrible, valuable film, and tells his readers plainly, the War Department has forbidden you to see it. And then the Army does something almost nobody remembers. It makes a replacement. 1948, Shades of Grey. Same subject, same hospital scenes, same camera moves, in places. Except the patients are played by actors. The film admits it on its own title card, in writing. Actual patients are not shown. Their expressions, their gestures, even their speech have been carefully reproduced. And the diagnosis is subtly rewritten. Listen to the replacement's own narrator describe its soldiers.
And these men are merely darker shades of gray.
Darker shades of grey. Men whose balance, the remake says, was tipped before the war ever touched them. Huston filmed real men and said, war did this. The Army reshot it with actors and said, they came that way. Let There Be Light ends on a baseball game and a bus ride home. What it never says, not once, is the word relapse, and that flaw matters. The film shows 8 weeks of treatment resolving symptoms in minutes of screen time. The man who could not walk, walks. The stutterer speaks. The recoveries were real moments. This footage could not be faked with 1945 technology. and no one who has studied the production claims the patients performed. But 70 hours became 58 minutes, and the cutting room kept the miracles. Huston himself understood that symptoms relieved in a hypnosis session could return next month. The film never admits it. It is a true film with an untrue shape, a recovery story with the hard part edited out, which hands the story its final irony. The Army later pointed at those same compressed cures to suggest the film was too neat to be trusted. The institution that buried the honest film questioned its honesty. The film sat in a vault for a generation. Bootleg prints were set to circulate among film students like contraband, and the men of Mason General went home to a country that had been told, in effect, that they did not exist. What finally opened the vault was not the Army's conscience, it was paperwork. In the late 1970s, the film historian Joseph McBride starts filing Freedom of Information requests. Jack Valenti, head of the Motion Picture Association, carries the cause all the way to Vice President Mondale. In December 1980, Army Secretary Clifford Alexander orders the film released, 1 month after a Los Angeles museum audience becomes the first public audience in history to see it. 35 years after the military police walked into the museum. Let There Be. Light opens its first commercial run at the Thalia Theatre in New York, January 16, 1981. The print that reaches the Cannes Film Festival that spring has a soundtrack so degraded that audiences can barely make out the men's words. The National Archives will not release a fully restored version until 2012, and here is the date that lands hardest. 1980, the very year the Army finally unseals its film about broken soldiers, is the year American psychiatry officially names what those soldiers had. Post-traumatic stress disorder enters the diagnostic manual 35 years after Huston's cameras filmed it, in detail at Mason General. The film was not wrong. It was early. Nothing is known of the 75 men's later lives. No follow-up was ever published. No one ever publicly tracked them down. They told the truth to a camera in 1945. And the truth was classified, filed away on a shelf like evidence of a crime nobody committed. The last word belongs to one of them.
That is for the doctors to decide at tomorrow's morning.
That is the voice the country was denied. The Army titled the film from the Book of Genesis, Let There Be Light. Then it chose the dark for 35 years. The light came on too late for the men who had earned it, and just in time to prove they had been telling the truth all along. If stories like this one belong in your evening, subscribe to Nick's World War II archive. There is a lot more film the world nearly never saw.